having a debate in the pub about politics is kind of futile, right? Because we know that there's 120 different arguments we could potentially put forward for or against a particular issue. What really matters is, like, where do we agree to move forward and how do we agree to move forward? And that can either be because one of us has the power to do whatever they want and therefore the debate doesn't really matter, or it can be because we come together and we agree to do something together and therefore the debate is a way of getting us to a place where we do something together in the world.
So tell me, what is your exciting news? What have you launched today?
So we have launched these things called, it's kind of called argument chess. So these are visual maps of different arguments or debates that you might have. I think they're pretty cool, but I'm a geek, so, who knows? I've always had this idea in my head that when you're talking about politics, everybody makes different arguments, and they're like pieces on a chessboard, so you know what your pieces are in the argument. But how you play them sort of depends on what you know about that person and what they care about. So we can sort of see all the different arguments and how they relate to each other and map how those conversations might go. The thing that excites me most about these maps is the bridging areas, which is trying to identify the areas where we're most likely to agree about stuff and use that as a starting point. And actually, if we want to bring ourselves back together and we want to feel a bit better about what the future might offer, then finding those areas of agreement is a really important start, and these maps are a way of doing that. So it's not just about knowing how to argue against people, it's also about knowing how to find ways of agreeing with people. We've called it argument chess because that was where the analogy started in my head. But the thing with chess is, like, the game of chess ends with a checkmate. And actually most arguments don't, right? Like, most people don't come away going, that person has fundamentally changed the way that I see the world, and I will now behave differently as a consequence. But it does raise the question of, okay, well, if we can know the whole of an argument, then who is the person making decisions about what actually happens? Because 90% of the conversations we have don't actually lead to action. And if we can map these conversations exhaustively, then the real question is, what's the action we're taking and why?